Hi, my name is Lou, and this is going to be a review on the Huina 1572 crawler crane. I'm going to give you some pros, cons, and some tips on what I'm planning on to modify to make this crane probably perform a little bit better. It is a toyish looking crane. It's got a heavy lattice to the boom. Could be made out of copper tubing if you wanted to really replicate it a little bit better, but then there's some other features on there that would have to be modified as well. So let's start off with the pros. The pros are it's a very good toy and a good base for upgrades to achieve an inexpensive operating semi-scale crane. Well worth the value that I paid for it anyway. It was $39 on Banggood with shipping, and it came from California. So let's go back and take a look at this thing, and we'll start looking at the cons. Number one is that I've had several problems. It's very strong, and another pro, but it's got problems tipping over forward, even with picking up loads that seem to be well within its capability. And there's some ways that we can achieve that. One way would to be adding weights to the back of the crane. Now there are weights inside of it, so I don't know if I would go and add more there, but there looks like there's capabilities of adding external weights that you would see on real cranes. And probably one way to do that would be to drill a pair of holes through these tabs that are sticking up here and making a plate that would hook into there and hang with a little platform with extra weights on it. The other thing that I would probably do is I'm going to look at this bottom and see if I can get more weight down around the perimeter of the bottom here, just to give it a heavier weight on the ground. The second thing would be to the forward, on the Caterpillar tracks, the forward roller. The back one is powered. I was originally going to drop that down a little bit, maybe about 1/8 of an inch or about 3 millimeters or so. But I don't think it's worth getting into because the motor and mechanism is all within here. However, the front, when you push the crane forward, you can see you get quite a bit of tilt. And of course, it's moving everything forward. So to get more balance, this forward roller, it looks like it can be cut in here, probably 3D printed, and the whole roller moved down. I'm guessing probably about 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch, somewhere about 6 to 7 millimeters. That way the crane will be pretty sturdy on its feet. Next thing I would do is going to be with performance, and I'm going to turn the crane on, and you could list this as a con if you want, but it's pretty noisy. However, it's easily solved by turning the speaker off. Also, this little flashing light that's in here is annoying. I would think that would have been better up on the roof. That's easily solved by turning off here, but still I'd prefer to move it up on the roof. Next on my list is modifications. This thing turns too fast. It probably should turn maybe about half that speed. And what happens is sometimes you get moving, you pull your finger off the button and it still moves a little bit afterwards. And by trying to make minor adjustments, by tapping on the buttons, the hook winds up going all over the place. So if you want to pick up something and you're lowering the boom and this hook is swinging all over the place, not very good. Those are pretty much the mandatory items that I would list. Adding a little bit more weight or weight platform on the back, some weight on the bottom, moving this Caterpillar track roller, the forward roller down, and slowing down the turning speed is what I call highly desirable. Extend this boom out. Now the boom sections looks like it would be duplicated something like this, except without this nameplate and just the lattice, so that this can be moved forward up and the section can be put in here with the same kind of a fitting and pin that's in here. I could move it up in increments of 5 3/4 inches or about 150 millimeters. Another highly desirable thing that I'd like to do is to change the inside of the crane by changing the wires to having a slip ring. A slip ring basically allows contacts completely around and allows the crane to turn continuously in one direction without any limits. Right now there's a limit of about, I think it was around 720 degrees, which is 2 complete turns. But if you do get you're using the crane and you're out there and you're turning back and forth and turning and turning and turning, you may wind up getting to the limit and it'll start clattering as it gets to the end there. So it can't go any further. Desirable changes. Okay, yeah, that's the name of the crane. It's up here, it's up here. Could change it to something else, your own personal labeling on there, or possibly replicating something that you see in your neighborhood or area that you'd like to have something different on it. The boom, when it comes down, it gets to a limit point in here, and it could go a little bit lower. So like if you were going to put on a flatbed trailer truck, you wouldn't want it sticking up quite so high. So you probably want it to come down a little bit more, and there might be a way of actually cutting away this a little bit, or that's something I'm going to look into when I take the crane apart. The hook is kind of really hokey looking. There is a metal weight in there. Looks like a piece of metal slug that was cut off. Might be able to 3D print something and put some weight in it that actually looks a little bit more realistic. Typically what they would have is like a big round ball that would be on that. It would be kind of a swivel type thing with a hook that didn't have this flat sides on it like this. Next, we get into the cab. Now they label this as a 1/14 scale model. Now, I work a lot with 1/16 scale tanks and armor and boats and stuff, and so this looks more like it would be into the 1/16 scale, which is fine because that's actually what I want to use it with. But I'd like to have it possibly so that the cab is easily removable, so I can get a figure in there and out, or having the door cut so that it'll open. Probably just removing the whole cab would be the easiest thing. Probably having it snap into place somehow. Because I'm going to be using this with my model boats and putting this on a barge, and having it work on a barge, I don't want the caterpillar tracks to work. So rather than risk accidentally hitting this and rolling off the edge of the barge while it's out in 3 or 4 feet of water, I'm going to come in and probably put some switches underneath the bottom here or inside or whatever, so I can disable the motors from working while it's sitting on a barge. Another thing that would be really easy to do is take some black paint and put it inside these slots here, and then after semi-dries, clean them down a little bit, so the only remaining thing you would have is see the dark slots, which would look like it's open and vented. Steps up here, but this railing kind of bends over and comes into the middle of where somebody's supposed to step on something, these tread plates, and so I'm going to just make a new railing that'll probably come closer to the outside edge here, just for some detail information. The USB cable that comes with this thing, this is a charging cable for the battery, and the battery is located inside this little box. Is susceptible to getting lost. It would be nice if they had a little storage place inside this where you could put it. Once I get this taken apart, I'm going to look and see the feasibility of slitting out a door opening so that it actually hinge up and close, so I can actually have a little storage place. It's a nice little crane, functions very well, works very well, except for the few little details that I came up with that I'd like to change. Would I buy another one of these? I certainly would. I'd give it to my son. For him, he's into radio controlled vehicles, and when he saw this, he thought it was pretty cool. Didn't think it was very good when I looked at it on the internet, but when it came in and he saw it working, he said, "Wow, that's pretty cool." I also have some grandchildren that would probably enjoy playing with them, but I'm making this one into functioning for my models, they're not going to be using this one. I hope you enjoyed this review. I've been looking for so-called reviews on the internet on this, and everybody just shows a picture of it working, or picking up a car or a truck or whatever else. They don't seem to actually sit down and tell you about the cranes. So I want you to know exactly what my opinion is of it anyway. And it looks pretty cool. Probably use a little piece of silver tape in here, like reflective tape or a tiny mirror or something. Just adding details. It's not too awfully far off, but in some respects, and in the other respects, like I said, with the lattice boom not being correct, it'll work. It'll work doing exactly what I want it to do. Thank you for watching. And one more thing, as I told you, I'm going to be making some modifications to this, so stay tuned to this channel, and hopefully I'll have something with 3D printed for the lattice boom extension, some of the other modifications and how I did that. I hold no secrets back. We'll give you all the information that I have that I've done to create this, and hopefully it'll make life a little easier and make your crane a little bit better for you to operate, more enjoyable. And if you like this video, down below. Thank you.